So you're here because you thought you were a pro at Webpack. You've watched all these tutorials and looked for every single piece of evidence that you know every single thing there is to know about Webpack. Version 4, version 5, if there's a version 5, I don't know. But I mean, you probably know everything. Fine. Good on you. But did you know that you can create your Webpack files in 5 minutes? You didn't you? Like from scratch, no referrals, no looking at other pieces of code. We're just gonna do that with a Webpack wrapper. And again, with 3 lines of code as well. I'm not even kidding you, 3 lines of code. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be teaching you today about a Webpack wrapper that you can use for standalone projects such as Laravel Mix. And if you find that interesting, let's hop down into this beautiful session. And this is your beautiful game of chess. Alright, so let me state this very loud, very output, very clear. Today, you guys are going to discover that you guys have been wasting time learning these Webpack wrappers, Webpack essentially, because now there's a Webpack wrapper called Laravel Mix that makes things much more simplified, and it makes everything so clear and so fast, I'd say. And then even the terminal looks a lot prettier when it's compiling stuff. So if you've tuned in into this video and you've not watched any of the tutorials that I actually showed on the screen, go watch them first. Learn a few bits of Webpack. Go and learn Webpack. Get to the pro level. Then you come here and then I'll kick you to the God mode. Now, that being said, let's get into coding this out. And I'm going to do a live coding session. And if you figured out that this video is actually shorter than you actually expected and it's a live coding session, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry for doubting your expectations, because this is a short video, because that's how long it pretty much takes to set up Webpack. So let's get down to it. First things first, I'm going to right click over here and I'm going to go to Git Bash here. Right, and then I'm going to come in here and do make directory. So I'm going to make a folder called Webpack test 2, because I did the test 1 and it actually worked. So I'm just going to do this to show you guys how it worked. So Webpack test 2, and then I'm going to open it up with Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to say code Webpack test 2. So if this first command doesn't run, then this second one won't run because the folder wouldn't exist. So I'm just going to press enter. It's going to create the folder and it's going to open it in VS Code. As simple as. Then I'm going to close it because I don't need it anymore, because there's an inbuilt terminal, inside this beautiful software. Now, first things first, I'm going to do an npm init-y. Once I do the npm init-y, I'm going to check out my package.json for the very first time, and it has everything that I actually need. So you can see the main JavaScript folder is the index.js, which I'm not going to put in anywhere over here because this is a standalone project for Webpack. Speaking of Webpack, I'm just going to import Webpack. Nope. I got you right there. I'm not going to import Webpack. I'm going to import the Webpack wrapper that I'm going to be dealing with today, and that is npm install Laravel -mix. Now, for those of you guys who know what Laravel Mix is, and you guys who know this channel, I'm a big fan of Laravel, and I'm also a big fan of its compilation software called Laravel Mix. So it can be used in standalone projects as well as being used inside Laravel. So you can see that it's importing this without no issues whatsoever because it's an actual JavaScript package. It's actually an npm package. So you can use it in standalone projects as well for compiling your work. There are probably other Webpack wrappers out there, but I mean, this is the one that I notoriously know that has a very good, well-built UI inside the terminal. So I'm just going to be using this for now. Right, and then the thing that we're going to be importing is Bootstrap. You guys can be using Bootstrap however you like. I'm actually going to leave this piece of code in the description down below. I'm going to upload it to GitHub, and you guys will be able to see it in the description down below. So let's get started after it finishes importing the stuff. And just as it continues importing the stuff, I'm just going to come in here and create a Webpack file. So the one I'm going to be calling, this one is called webpack.mix. The name I'm going to give this is webpack.mix.js. I don't know why it stopped me from continuing. So webpack.mix.js, like so. And then once that is ready, I am just going to come in here and do a const mix is equal to require, and I'm going to require the package that we've just imported, which is Laravel mix, like so. I'm just going to close that. That was a mistake. And then from there we are sorted. Now we can just do whatever the hell we please. I mean, we are just ready. Everything is done. But now, what does Webpack do? So for those guys who just get into it and, you know, do some development of front-end stuff, Webpack allows you to compile your CSS and JS files into one standalone CSS and JS that can be read by the browser much easily with great performance. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create two nice little folders, right? I'm going to create one called public, and inside public I'm going to create a file called index.html, right? And then inside there, not inside there actually, but outside, I'm just going to create a resources folder, or SRC for those guys who've gotten used to SRC. I'm just going to call it resources because I'm used to Laravel. And then inside here, I'm going to create some files. So the file over here is going to be Sass, because I'm using Sass as a preprocessor for CSS. And then I'm going to create another folder inside the resources folder called JS for JavaScript files that are going to be raw. So inside the Sass, I'm going to create the app.scss file, and then inside JS I'm going to create app.js, right? Now these are empty, all right, and I have not created any other folders within public. So this is what's going to happen in Webpack. It's going to take the SCSS file over here and compile it into a CSS file that can be readable by the browser and put it inside public. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this mix, and then I'm going to do .sc or SASS, because that's Sass we're going to use. So it's going to compile SCSS to CSS. I hope that makes sense, or makes sense. Anyway, enough of those weak ass puns. So I'm going to go into the resources folder. So I'm just going to come in here, resources, and I'm going to go into the Sass, and I'm going to come and select the app.scss, and then I'm just going to come inside public. So I'm just going to do public, like so, and I'm going to go to CSS, like so. So this will essentially create a new folder called CSS, and then it will deposit the app.css inside that public stroke CSS. So yeah, there we go. I'm going to not put a semicolon over here so that it can allow me to continue using this mix variable, right? And then I'm going to come in here and say JS. So the same story with JS. I'm just going to come into resources. So I need to put the resources, and then I'm going to go into JS, and I'm going to get the app.js right there. And then I'm just going to go to public. I'm going to compile it to public and a folder called JS. And that's done. And I'm just going to, I can put a semicolon over here, but because this is JavaScript, I can just leave it without, because it's not as strict as other primitive languages like Java. I'm sorry for those guys who got offended by that statement, but it is what it is. All right, so we're going to go on and just do some few things over here. So in order to let this Webpack run, some of you may have been taught that, or some of you might have learned that you use npx to run commands that are not listed inside our package.json. So say, for example, if you wanted to do npx Webpack or something like that using the Webpack CLI without having to install it here, you can do that. But now since we're using Laravel mix, it has its own command. It's called npx mix, right? So if I hit mix, npx mix, it's going to start running this command called mix, which should be in our package.json, right? So after it does that, it's going to compile all this SCSS and this JS into our public folder, into folders of CSS and JS, like so. So the first thing it has to do is it installs some dependencies that will be required for Sass and post CSS. So you don't have to do any more importations. Everything is well done for you, and you carry on from there. So as it runs, you just keep still and let it run the process of installing those dependencies inside our package.json. So you'll see them add onto these dependencies or the dev dependencies section, like you have actually just seen them pop up just now. Okay, so those files are now in the node modules and you can run mix again. That's what they instruct you to do. So once those dependencies are present, when you do npx mix, it will now compile everything the way it requires to. So there's some things that are being said over here. It says module not found error cannot resolve resources JS app.js in this Webpack test too. So maybe we did something wrong with how we listed it down. Maybe we need to remove these strokes, I guess, and save it and just run it again. So let's see if it will actually work. Now it's working, so everything is good. And yeah, it's compiled everything just as you'd expect it. So you can see inside public JS app.js, you can see the JS folder has popped up. You can see the CSS folder has popped up. The CSS is empty, but the JS has some Webpack module importation settings that have been listed down with it. So that's by default. Alright, so first thing I want to do is I want to import them into our HTML. So I've just done what you normally do to create that boilerplate, which in most universities you're taught each and every single section you have to master. No, you don't. You just hit the exclamation point in VS Code and it crafts it for you. So over here I'm just going to do Webpack test, and in the body, okay, well, in the head I have to import the CSS. So I'm just going to do link :CSS and then press enter, and as you can see it does things for you. So I'm going to go to CSS and /app.css and import that there, and then I'm going to go into my body. I can decide to put it in my head, but I'm going to go to body and just put it down here at script. I'm just going to do script :src, and I'm just going to press enter, and I'm going to go to js/app.js, and that's done right there. Okay, so once those are imported, because I know the first thing I'll do is npm install Bootstrap to show you how all this works. The thing that I wanted to show you is, now that we did npx mix, instead of doing that npx mix command all the time, we can just go to package.json and come in here and create our own script for that. So we want to create a dev script, right? The first dev script is going to be, you guessed it, mix. So I'm just going to come in here, create that, save it like that, and then continue on with the work. So inside here I want to do a h1 tag, and I'm going to put a Bootstrap class called text center. So this will only work if Bootstrap is imported into the system. So I'm just going to do hello world, right? And then after doing this hello world like this, and everything is set, I'm just going to save this and then open this with my live server. So my live server started on my browser, and here it is, right? So it's just this hello world. It's very basic. There's nothing input inside it. There's no styling, nothing whatsoever, right? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to my code, and then I'm going to show you how to import Bootstrap. So the Bootstrap that will be imported at this time, in this day, this is May 17th, 2021. At this point, when you import Bootstrap like this, you'll be importing Bootstrap version 5, not version 4 anymore. So Bootstrap Bootstrap 5 is now at its stable version, and there's some few changes that have been made to the emmet syntax or everything else in the Bootstrap syntax with the data toggles and stuff like that. So I'll actually just show you that using modals essentially. So yeah, let's just move on and carry on. So you can see Bootstrap version 5.0.1 and it requires a pair of Popper.js core. So this is what we need to also import, and then it also needs jQuery, I believe. But let's just do what it requires us to do. So I'm just going to do npm install and then I'm going to do insert, and then I'm also going to add jQuery just in case everything fails on us. So I'm just going to do that. So it's going to install this and then I'm going to add the JavaScript versions of these particular packages and the CSS versions into our resources parts over here. So it's no sweat really. We can just go to our app.js. We just do require Bootstrap, so that it can require Bootstrap at any given point. And then I can also do require Popper. So it's actually at Popper, like so. Now, once we do that, we can also do an addition of window dot the $, and this $sign is usually used to represent jQuery. So I'm just going to do that. I'm also going to make another variable, windowed variable. If you guys are into JavaScript, then you know what the window means. And then we're going to do a require jQuery. So I like doing this so that jQuery is in every single instance of the browser I open that's going to run this same JavaScript. So yeah, let's move on like that. Now, every time I save, the changes won't immediately reflect because I have to run this npx mix again. So in this situation, because I have dev over here that has that command for mix, all I have to do is npm and then I do run, then dev. Okay, and then if I hit that, it's going to do mix like so, and then it's going to compile everything again into our public JavaScript file. So it does that and everything runs successfully. But now every single time I change anything in my JavaScript, I have to run that command again. So Laravel Mix has something to cater for that, and that's called a watchful autoloader. So inside the Laravel Mix CLI, if I was actually to show you how it actually looks, so if I was going to go to Laravel Mix.com, so this is where you can find the documentation for it. So you go to documentation and then you go to the Mix CLI. So this is npx mix. This is what you run to compile your assets once, and then you finish up with your terminal and you can use it for something else. Now this is npx mix watch, which watches your files for any changes. If you save those changes, upon save, it will reload that compiler and recompile them again, so that you don't have to run this command again in the terminal or every single time. So this is the very most helpful piece of code you can use. You can also use the polling as well if you want, but I'm not going to find any use for that today. But I'm just going to take this mix watch and put it inside one of our commands. So you can do npx mix watch so that your terminal is taken up, or you can just put this inside a command over here. So I'm just going to put watch, and then I'm going to do the following. So you can see I've done watch and then I've put in here mix watch. and I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to come in here and type in mix watch, or rather, I got you again, npm run watch. So that's how we do this. You run watch, it will run mix watch, and everything will be golden. So it will run the compiler again, right? And then it will watch the files, and you won't have the terminal back, right? And if you want this terminal back, all you have to do is Control-C, but I'm not going to do that because I want these files to be watched the way they're being watched right now. Great. So now I've imported Bootstrap into my app.js. Now I need to import it into my app.css so that all the changes take effect. Because as you can see inside my Webpack test, inside my browser, nothing has changed. So inside here, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to come in here and say import. So there's a command in Sass, or rather in CSS, called import, right? And all I'm just going to do is import, and then I do the curly hyphen that's above tab, right? And then I do Bootstrap. So this is what happens, right? If you do this, it's going to, this hyphen directs it to go and look inside the node modules folder. So it goes and looks inside the node modules folder, and the first thing that it's going to check is the first name that pops up over here. So it comes in here and looks at Bootstrap. Bootstrap is right here. So after going to Bootstrap, I want to import some SCSS files, and it's going to go into SCSS files, and it's going to and I want it to import the one that has all the CSS or SCSS requirements for Bootstrap, and it's going to be this particular file over here, bootstrap.scss. So I'm just going to do /scss, and then I'm going to do /bootstrap.scss. That's essentially it. I'm just going to close that off, and I'm going to save it, and you can see immediately I save it, it's going to recompile over here with mix watch. So it has compiled, and you can see there's a size change over here. This is 192 KB, but the one that was before was 1 byte. So you can see there's a huge drastic change because we've imported Bootstrap. Now, if I went and changed back to my site, back to the web page, you'll already see that Bootstrap has taken effect and the text center class is working. That's how you deal with Webpack as a finisher. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you wanted to do something like, oh, I don't know, override that class of like the background is now this kind of cream white, and then the color of the text is black. I mean, you can just simply come in here and write something new over here. You can just simply do body, right? And then open up the body and then type in the following. You can do background color. Let's say you want it to be black. Maybe you want to change everything to opposite. Now, black might not work, might work. It varies sometimes with the situation that you're using. And then let's say color of the text. Color of the text should be white, right? So I'm going to do white. And I'm going to save this and let it compile. And immediately you shall see changes. So let it compile in the background, and you probably will see the changes right now, as you can see. All right, so before I know I've hit the 25 mark of recording because I made some mistakes in the startup. So I mean, well, you guys probably won't see it as 25 or 26 minutes because I'm gonna snip some stuff off. But anyway, so I wanted to show you guys some things to do with the modals. So the modals in Bootstrap won't work with now the same templating that is being installed in VS Code. Here's the reason why. So I'm just going to come in here and do modal. And I know some of you usually do this. So I'm just going to do modal, and then I'm going to do default. I'm just going to call this launch. So I'm just going to save it like that. So I've come and created this button that's supposed to launch the Bootstrap modals. But if I click on it, it won't launch. And it's supposed to launch automatically because the JavaScript is there and the CSS is there. So what's going on? Well, essentially, if you look at this part of data toggle, all you just need to do is BS, then toggle. Then over here, I'm going to do BS, then target. And after that is done, I'm just going to save that, and the module is working. So that's essentially it, really. As you can see, the color of the module is also, the background color of the module is white, but the text color is also white as well. Yeah, and that's why I love using Sass, by the way. It's because if I come and decide to take this class over here, or whichever modal dialog or whatnot, if I decide to take any one of those classes and then come in here and then come into app.css and just do it like dot modal and then do background color, and then I say black, and then I do, or let's say gray, so that it contrast to the background. So let's say gray, and then I do, okay, well, if I say gray, maybe it might not work. So I'm just going to do that. But if I come in here and do, well, okay, wait, hold on. So you can see the background over here is done gray. Yeah, so it's good to go. If I come in here and do modal dash dialog, so let it save. When this thing builds successfully, maybe some things are not changing. Maybe I need to do content. Wait for it. Yeah, there we go. So you see, I've done content and the background has already changed to that gray that I set it to. Then, I mean, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you feel you want to do with this. You can edit the borders, you can edit whatever, right? Just by overriding the classes by doing this. And if you find that you've done the overriding properly, I'm not a CSS guru, but I know that you can override that particular class in a particular section of the web page, just by doing important like that, and it makes it so that this overrides whatever property you set it to before. So that's just Sass logic. I'm not a guru at Sass, but at least I've shown you why modals are not working the way they used to because of this new addition of stuff over here. I realized this actually today, but yeah, I just thought, let me share this with you. And yeah, happy coding, guys. I guess now you can thank me for showing you all the beauties of Webpack with Laravel Mix and how easy it is to set up. 30-minute mark. Let me sign off. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please drop that like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys in the next video. And I'm gonna call this little game of chess checkmate. Adios and happy coding.